Well, the bad news continues, so I'm gonna paint the engine block.
Regarding automobiles, yeah.
Welcome back. Today I'll just give you a little update on what's going on, and then I'm gonna paint the engine block. So if you just want to see the engine block being painted, skip to, this time code, and you can see me do that. First, engine update is that after discovering the spun bearing, I stripped the engine down to its block, which you've seen me do before, so I'm not going to show you that again, and brought it all to a machine shop. The call I got was, first of all, one of the con rods was dead. I guess the spun bearing had damaged it, but also that resulted in the thrust of the crank being out of whack. So they basically told me that the crank was dead too. So that means I had lost the crank and a con rod. So I brought the 3 con rods from my old engine in and said, choose and prep 4 good ones for me. And here is one of the 4 good con rods. Had them just, hone the inside there for those. These are forged. Like the stock ones are forged, so I didn't really see a need to spend, $500 or $600 on aftermarket forged ones for the amount of power that I'm probably going to be making, which is not much. Please hone the engine and clean it up. So, got that nice crosshatch pattern there, and it's looking pretty good. Now there is some, little bit of pitting here. They didn't skim anything off of it as far as I know. So obviously they thought it wasn't too big a deal. There's no major damage. So hopefully the head gasket will just cover that. And then the other half of the block, just cleaned it up a bit. And what we're going to be after, today is the sides, which are just a little bit rusty. We'll clean those up. And I'm going to be sourcing a new crank. Not new crank, like a used crank, but the person is going to bring it to a machine shop first, have them check it out, make sure it's all good before I buy it. So that second engine, I end up with a block and I guess 3 con rods. Pretty good. A valve cover. I got a valve cover and a head. So, I mean, there's some value there, but I was really hoping to run that second engine. Obviously not, but I've got all winter now. So what am I going to do now? Well, to be honest, I'm waiting for that crank, but I'm going to upgrade the bearings that I'm going to use. So the scary thing was that when I went to look for a used crank on, say, eBay, there wasn't any. And the more I dug into it, the more I'm thinking that, yeah, these engines spin a lot of bearings, and I think they damage a lot of cranks. So I'm not going to, I had the Engine Tech ones. They were just like the OEM replacements. Instead, I'm going to go with the King racing bearings. So I put an order in for those, and I'm going to get the King main bearings as well. They're actually hard to get right now. I don't know if there's a shortage. I don't know if it's a COVID thing, but basically they're not going to arrive until probably December, and right now we're October. So I'm just sort of in a waiting pattern here, holding pattern. So I'm going to figure out what else I can do while I'm waiting, and since I have the engine back here and it's ready to go, they didn't coat it with anything. They just sort of cleaned it all up and honed it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to spray paint it. So let's get started. Some of the bolt holes here are just a little bit rustier than I would like, a little bit. Nothing flaking, but just I like them cleaner. So I'm just gonna hit them with the wheel here, clean them up a bit. So the mating surfaces are very, smooth and clean from the machine shop, but a lot of the other surfaces are kind of a little more, rusty than I would have liked. So I'll hit them with the wheel a bit to get the worst parts off before I put the primer on. There are still some parts that are kind of loose and flaky here. This is gonna take a little longer than I originally anticipated, but you know, since I'm here, I might as well do it. So some of the hard flakes, I've just taken a punch or a chisel of various sizes and just tapped it like really lightly, just done this and got them out. Use the wheel, right, to get a whole bunch of them. And then anywhere I can't get the wheel, I sort of hit it with some Scotch-Brite and seems to be doing okay. So really just trying to get the loose stuff off, and yeah, it's working pretty well. I'll obviously have to clean it all off again before I put it back together, or paint it, but so far so good. Okay, just after doing a little sanding, I'm just hitting it with a little degreaser, cleaning off one last time, because obviously after all that sanding and such, oh, I also blew it off with like my leaf blower actually. So I'm just gonna clean it off one more time. There's still lots of crap on it, obviously. Then I'll let it all dry before we start with the primer. Now it's a split block, so this is the lower half, upper half. And I'll do the lower half too, even though there's only gonna be a little bit showing here. I'll tape it all up. Let's just do the sides. Okay, all taped up and prepped, degreased. There's still like some surface rust, but I mean, short of sandblasting it, I don't think I'm gonna get rid of that. So it's all, any surface that is a contact surface or doesn't need paint is taped. I jammed a bunch of old earplugs into anywhere where it was sort of hard to tape over, but there was little screw holes that I needed or a hole that I didn't want paint in. And now it's time to throw some primer on. So don't worry about this surface, I'm not gonna paint it, but I figure if I miss so badly that the paint goes, or the primer goes here, then I'm doing something else horribly wrong. So I'm only painting the sides of this piece. This is the enamel paint that the machine shop recommended. I chose blue because, well, the car is blue and there isn't actually that many selection choices, so blue it is. And then Duplicolor themselves recommend some self-etching primer. There we go. And so I'll put this on. Usually from what I read, the directions, you want to wait like 2-3 minutes in between coats of this, and then wait 4 hours. So what's going to happen is I'll put this on today, and then tomorrow morning I'll come back and do this. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, so let's get to it. That's both layers of the primer done. I just have to wait 4 hours, so that just means I'll come back tomorrow and actually put the color on. We're back and the primer is dry. I let it dry overnight. Today we're gonna do the engine enamel, which I just discovered is forward blue. Whatever, it's blue-ish, so I'm not trying to win any car competitions. I'm just trying to, prevent some rust. Interesting stuff. You shake it for 2 minutes, obviously, to get it started, but then when it's on, you let it dry for half an hour and then you put on another coat. But you cannot wait an hour. If you leave it for an hour, then you have to wait 7 days to put another coat on. So you really have that half an hour window. Shouldn't be a problem. Just gonna warm up the garage a bit. It's only 2 degrees here today, so gonna heat up the garage a bit and we'll get started. So shake for 2 minutes. Light coat first, wait half an hour, heavier coat, and then wait half an hour, and if I want to, a third coat. So I think 2 is gonna be enough. So that's the first coat done. It's fairly light. There's still some spots that aren't fully covered, so I'll give it a second blast and we'll see how it looks. Okay, it's looking much better after 2 coats, and you know, I still have half a can left, so I might as well just do a 3rd coat. And that's the directions that I read. It was 3 is sort of the max, so I'll do 3. Can't hurt. Okay, it's been about an hour and a half. It is now dry to the touch, and from what I've been told, it will take up to a week to cure, which isn't a problem since I won't have parts to rebuild it for 2 months. Let's take a look. Let's take a closer look. That's done. I'm very happy with the result. Looks good. I don't know if it's show car quality, but for me it looks pretty good. I'm gonna keep it sealed. You know, I'm not gonna have the bearings or the crank until December probably. So I think just keeping it sealed with the tape is probably good. If there's any areas that, you know, got exposed that weren't supposed to, I can always go back with a razor blade or something and peel it off. But yeah, mission accomplished. Now I just need to figure out what I'm gonna be doing over the next 2 months while I wait for the rest of the parts. And it'll probably have something to do with these. I'll have to clean up these pistons. They're looking pretty rough, but I think they're usable, so I'll clean those up. But also something to do with this area over here. Hope you enjoyed me painting my engine block. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.